Hey man, here's something they'll never teach you in school. Your parents won't mention, and most guys won't understand until they've been through heartbreak after heartbreak. The fastest way to get a woman deeply obsessed with you isn't through flowers, compliments, or endless validation. It's through intentional nonchalance. Not apathy, not coldness, but that calm, grounded energy of a man who could care, but simply doesn't. A man who notices, but doesn't chase. Who listens to her emotional storms without reacting, just sipping his coffee like nothing has shifted. When done right, it works so effectively, it almost feels unfair, like psychological warfare. Because in today's world, where most men are emotionally overexposed and constantly seeking female validation, the man who remains calm and unfazed becomes magnetic. Women are drowning in attention, likes, comments, DMS, compliments. It's endless. And the truth is, most men are starving for approval. They orbit around her, constantly checking in, over-investing, showering her with niceties, and treating her like a prize to be won. But here's what most don't realize. The second she feels your emotions are hooked, the chase is over. Her interest drops. The tension vanishes. She's won. And unconsciously, the game ends. But when you show intentional nonchalance, when you're present but detached, when you respond without urgency, when you don't try to fix her every mood, suddenly she's thrown off, intrigued, wondering. You become unpredictable, and that uncertainty draws her in. You're not desperate, and your energy makes it known. It's in your body language, the way you don't lean in too much, the way you calmly smile when she tries to provoke a reaction, the way you take your time. That sends a louder message than words. I'm full without you. And that, ironically, is what makes you irresistible. Most women are used to having emotional control. They know how to pull strings, how to make men bend. But when they meet a man they can't move emotionally, it activates something deeper. Instincts kick in. They want to figure him out, to break through his cool exterior, to feel like they matter. They perform, they reach, they reveal themselves, all while you do nothing more than stay still. Because intentional nonchalance isn't indifference, it's quiet strength. It's dominance without aggression. You're not rude, you're unshaken. You're not dismissive, you're selective. That balance triggers a different hunger in a woman, not for attention, but for meaning. She wants to matter to you. She wants to be the one who cracks your calm, who makes the unshakable man waver. And when you don't flinch, when you don't fold under pressure, she keeps coming. She adjusts. She seduces. She opens up. Why? Because your emotional stillness becomes the gravity pulling her in. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her. The girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. The problem is, most men use nonchalance the wrong way. They use it as a mask for resentment, as a weapon forged from bitterness or rejection. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is intentional nonchalance, the kind that comes from inner abundance, not emotional wounds. You're calm because you have options. You're relaxed because you have direction. You're detached because you have self-respect and standards. Your energy quietly declares, I'm here because I choose to be, not because I have to be. And that kind of energy doesn't push women away. It captivates them. It doesn't intimidate the feminine. It invites it to rise. Suddenly you're not chasing her. You're being chosen. You're not trying to win her approval. She's trying to earn your attention. Intentional nonchalance works because it flips the emotional script. Most women are used to leading with feeling. They speak emotion fluently. They expect others to echo their intensity. But when you respond not with panic or performance, but with grounded stillness, with a smirk, a shrug, a calm silence, it throws off their rhythm. It disrupts the emotional pattern they know how to control. She makes a sarcastic remark expecting a reaction, and you just raise an eyebrow. She gets moody, you give her space and peace. She tries to start a fight, you take a walk. Every time she expects chaos and gets composure, it disarms her. It makes her feel seen, but not indulged. And slowly, it pulls her in, because now she's seeking your emotional presence. And that craving only grows when you don't feed it on demand. Here's the paradox most men never understand. The man who treats her like she's just another option becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. Not because he's being cruel, but because he's not placing her above himself. Women chase what feels just slightly out of reach. Not distant, not dismissive, but lightly unavailable. The man who showers her with affection from day one is safe, predictable, but the man who reveals himself in measured doses, who gives warmth but guards his core, that man becomes an emotional addiction. Every word, every moment of softness, every rare glimpse into his vulnerability becomes something she wants to earn, and suddenly the dynamic shifts. It's no longer about proving yourself to her, it's about whether she qualifies for you. Intentional nonchalance is also your shield. It protects your peace. When you're emotionally reactive, you're on edge, over-analyzing texts, panicking when she pulls back, craving validation just to feel stable. But when you've trained your nervous system to be still, when you've made peace your default state, you stop overreaching. You let her miss you. You stop filling the silence with explanations, reassurance, or effort. Instead, you let your absence speak for itself. And often that silence screams louder than words. Because if you've been her source of emotional stimulation, the calm center in her chaos, she'll feel the void when you're no longer pouring in. Women say they want a man who's emotionally open, and while that's true, what they really want is a man who isn't emotionally open to everyone. A man who doesn't give his depth too easily. A man whose emotions are earned, not handed out like favors. Because in a world where every guy wears his heart on his sleeve, emotional restraint becomes a rare commodity, and anything rare becomes valuable. If you're always available, always explaining, always emoting, she gets bored. Not because kindness is wrong, but because predictability kills tension. Women crave emotional depth, but not when it's dumped all at once. What captures their attention is depth without desperation, openness without oversharing, warmth without worship. When you can express without overexposing, when you can connect without clinging, she feels like she's slowly peeling back the layers of a man who knows his own worth, and that makes her invest. She becomes curious, intrigued, even enchanted by the emotional mystery of you. And here's the catch. The more she feels she has to earn you, the more she begins to value you. Intentional nonchalance is what stays with her after the date ends, not the compliments, not the charm, not even the chemistry. It's the question mark you leave behind. The silence after the spark, the way you ended the conversation first, the way you didn't text right away, the way you left just before things got too comfortable. That sense of unfinished business creates tension. And tension is the soil where obsession grows. She'll replay the night, she'll refresh her inbox, she'll stalk your socials, trying to decode your mood, your interests, your next move, and you'll be living your life, calm, grounded, and completely in control. This tactic feels almost evil, not because it's manipulative, but because it exposes something uncomfortable. How emotionally unbalanced many people, especially women in dating dynamics, can be when desire isn't being fed predictably. They say they want kindness, but the moment you go quiet, their interest spikes. They say they want constant connection, but the moment you stop pursuing, they start chasing. Nonchalance works not because it's cold, but because it activates one of the deepest forces in attraction, unpredictability. When you become the variable she can't pin down, the puzzle she can't quite solve, her brain doesn't let it go. And that's just human nature. We're wired to complete what feels unfinished. We chase what feels just out of reach, especially when the mystery is wrapped in confidence, subtle detachment, and quiet strength. Intentional nonchalance also communicates your standards without you ever having to say a word. You don't beg, you don't plead, you don't perform, you simply observe, you filter, you let her show you who she is, and based on that, you decide if she's worth your time. And she feels that. She feels that she's being watched, not pursued, that she's being evaluated, not idolized. And every woman knows, whether consciously or not, that if she doesn't show up with effort, emotional maturity, and respect, she won't be punished, blocked, or ghosted. She'll simply be dismissed, silently, peacefully, powerfully. That kind of response is rare, and in its rarity lies its power. Most men tolerate disrespect, hoping it'll eventually buy them affection. But the nonchalant man, he'd rather lose her than lose himself. He values his peace more than her attention, and that's exactly why she starts fighting for his attention. You'll know it's working when she starts doing what you used to do. She texts first. She finds excuses to bring up your name. She posts stories that seem oddly aimed at you. She gets curious about your schedule, your mood, your world. She starts to tune into you more deeply, and all you did was stay centered, not cold, not distant, just grounded in your own energy, untouched by drama, unaffected by games. That stillness is louder than charm. That calm, collected presence is more seductive than any pickup line. Because in a world full of men trying too hard to be chosen, the one who chooses himself becomes the one she can't forget. The moment she senses you're not hooked, she gets curious. The moment she feels you're not trying to impress her, something flips. She wants to impress you. And that subtle switch, that's the game changer. Suddenly the roles invert. You're no longer the open book she can read, cover to cover. Now, you're the mystery novel she can't put down. You become mysterious, dangerous, hard to read. And that's exactly the point. You're no longer putting your emotions on display, no longer offering your energy on demand. You're still present, but intentionally selective. You're kind, but unavailable. And that paradox, that push and pull, creates a psychological magnetism. It leaves her wondering, does he like me, or is this all in my head? And that uncertainty, it pulls her deeper than compliments ever could. Society teaches men to chase, to perform, to persuade, to prove. But the real secret is to become the gravity. Stop reaching, start becoming the force she orbits. Women naturally gravitate toward a man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase validation, who doesn't respond to every emotional gust of wind. You don't have to pull her in. You don't have to convince her. You just remain the sun, still, radiant, untouchable. She'll either move toward your warmth or float away. But either way, you never leave your orbit for anyone. And that self-contained power, that's what makes you irresistible. The nonchalant man isn't cold or careless. He's composed, strategic. He doesn't react wildly because he's already seen how the story plays out. He's watched the patterns, survived the heartbreaks, and learned that neediness repels while silence seduces. His stillness isn't passivity, it's precision. He's not emotionally absent, he's emotionally disciplined. He doesn't overinvest in temporary highs. He lets the dynamic reveal itself, knowing that if she truly wants something meaningful, she'll rise to meet him in that calm. And if she doesn't, he doesn't chase, he doesn't beg, he doesn't even flinch. That's the kind of man she loses sleep over. Not because he hurt her, but because she can't stop thinking about him and she doesn't know why. That mental loop she's stuck in, it wasn't created with games or manipulation. It was created through authentic emotional control, because women are intuitive. They feel energy more than they listen to words. They know when a man is truly at ease and when he's faking it. They know when your compliments are rooted in confidence versus when they're used as bait. They know when your silence is calm and when it's panicked. And that's why intentional nonchalance has to be real. It can't be an act. It must come from a place of genuine self-respect, grounded identity, and emotional maturity. Because when it's authentic, it becomes undeniable. It becomes magnetic. It's not a trick, it's a signal. And only the women who are truly aligned with your value will hear it and come closer. Not out of curiosity, but out of desire. Intentional nonchalance is more than just a clever dating tactic. It's a way of life, a mindset that must be genuinely practiced, deeply embodied, and consistently lived. It's not about pretending to be indifferent or playing emotional games to manipulate others. True nonchalance flows from a place of inner peace and self-assurance. Because here's the real secret. The moment you stop needing to impress anyone, that's when you become genuinely impressive. When you stop desperately trying to be wanted, you become naturally desired. Nonchalance serves as the ultimate filter in life and love. It sifts out the insecure, the manipulative, and the emotionally needy, along with the women who can't handle your stability and emotional boundaries. Those women will label you emotionally unavailable, accuse you of playing games, and misunderstand your calm. But the right woman, the one who truly values emotional strength, will lean in closer. She'll recognize your stability as rare and precious, and she'll be drawn to your calm emotional control like a moth to a flame. Deep down, every woman longs to feel safe in a man's presence, not controlled, not micromanaged, and definitely not rescued, just safe. And real safety begins with a man who is safe from himself, who doesn't lose control over his emotions or his life. There's a reason women often find themselves chasing emotionally unavailable men. It's not because they crave pain or chaos, but because those men embody a compelling mix of attachment, unpredictability, and quiet power. Now, I'm not telling you to be toxic or distant out of spite. Instead, I'm urging you to master the art of emotional distance, the kind that's intentional, conscious, and ethical. This kind of emotional distance creates an irresistible gravitational pull by giving her just enough of yourself to keep her intrigued, but never so much that you lose your sense of self or your frame. You flip the dynamic entirely. Suddenly, she isn't just chasing any man, she's chasing you, fighting to earn your attention and presence, treating your time like the prize it truly is. At the core of nonchalance is internal abundance. You don't need her to text you back immediately because your life is already full, rich, and meaningful. You don't get rattled if she flakes on plans because your priorities extend far beyond any single interaction. You don't stress over mood swings or mixed signals because your emotional world doesn't depend on her reactions. This abundance isn't a mask or a show. It's built steadily, day by day, through discipline, personal growth, meaningful goals, and a clear vision for your life. Nonchalance is not a role you play. It's a state you become when your cup is genuinely full, your standards are unwavering, and your sense of self-worth comes from creation and accomplishment, not from external validation or fleeting attention. One of the most powerful effects of nonchalance is that it creates space, and space is the very atmosphere where desire breathes and grows. When you're constantly in her face, texting non-stop, reacting emotionally to every little thing, you smother attraction before it has a chance to bloom. But when you consciously step back, give her room to breathe, and allow silence to fill the gaps, she starts to wonder, to imagine, and to replay moments in her mind. That space generates tension and longing, the fuel for obsession. That's why the man who backs off just enough, who resists over-engaging and stays laser-focused on his own mission, is the one she keeps thinking about. Not because he manipulated her or played her, but because he gave her the freedom to chase. And when she starts chasing, texting you first, asking when you're free, noticing your quiet confidence, and wondering who else might have your attention, the whole dynamic flips. She steps into the role you used to play. And it's not because you became cold or heartless. It's because you finally mastered the ultimate truth. Your value isn't proven by how hard you pursue her, but revealed by how well you exercise restraint and keep your own life thriving. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way. So stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.